Number 1. A YouTuber named Chris Lamb says that he was all alone when he shot this drone footage at Fort McClellan, Alabama, but the video says otherwise. You can clearly see that nobody is in the background at the beginning. But when Chris steadies the camera just a moment later, you can see someone standing by the street lamp. There's not enough time for anyone to walk out from behind a building, but yet here they are. Also, did you see how they seem to suddenly disappear in plain sight? I don't see any editing cuts, so I have absolutely no idea how this dark silhouette managed to vanish like that. Look again and you can definitely see them dematerialize. There's nothing wide enough for them to hide behind. They're just gone. Let me know if you think Chris Lamb's video is paranormal, extraterrestrial, or otherwise. The aggression with which some ghosts make their presence known can frighten even the bravest among us. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Mr. Miracle BR. The Redditor says this clip was tweeted by a police officer and reveals a strange, seemingly paranormal encounter during a police raid in Brazil. The footage shows what appears to be an abandoned building. The police approach to find a door banging repeatedly on its hinge. As they get closer, they see that it's doing so on its own. No trespassers are around. Nothing behind the door but an apparently angry plant. The man filming scans the door up and down, but nothing seems to explain the banging. The police hear something clatter to the ground somewhere far off and start running down the alley. Redditor Islin draws attention to something else creepy in the clip, writing, "How come no one is pointing out the girl in the doorway at 38 seconds? Not sure if that's a girl. In fact, it's unclear what it is, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's very unnerving." Those who don't see it remain skeptical about the seeming paranormal activity. Redditor Bin Medi writes, "Ghosts do this, but they don't do it constantly." Well, there you have it. This couple is dedicated to, as their description states, the search of paranormal activity in places with terrifying histories, as is sometimes possible when investigating. Ghosts have followed investigators to their homes, and they believe someone they made contact with on a previous investigation did just that. On January 21st, 2021, they hosted a live stream to document what they believed was a haunting in their home. Hoping to document evidence and find answers, they invited the public to join on their session. The first half of the investigation seems to produce little results, but something rather disturbing appears as they venture down the stairs. Through a glazed window overlooks the stairs, the figure of a woman can be seen staring towards the camera. At first glance, it can be easily mistaken for a painting, but when inspecting it closer, you can see there is actual 3D depth to it, something a painting would be impossible to have. The figure looks either like a woman with long dark hair or someone wearing a robe. To further prove it is not a painting, the same window is shown a few minutes later and the figure is gone. Furthermore, they venture outside to show the other side, and it is several feet above the ground, making it impossible for anyone to get up there without a ladder. Nothing around the window resembles the figure, as it has simply vanished. As they descend further down the stairs, an orb can be seen flying fast across the top left corner of the screen. Once they reach the bottom step, a loud, low exhale can be heard.
La esfera.
The sound is too low pitched to be either of the couple, as we could hear them breathe beforehand and it doesn't match. It is also possible it was the sound of something sliding, although we cannot see what or if anything moves. Unfortunately, the remainder of the video becomes uneventful and other apparent orbs can be easily explained. For example, while they are filming a mirror, a glowing orb-like spectacle can be seen flying around. However, when the camera's light is turned off, it disappears, meaning it was simply a glare from the light itself. It's terrifying to imagine something becoming attached to you and following you back to your home. It's one of the risks when going on investigations, meaning it is not for the faint of heart. It also shows how there are more than just the physical dangers on these adventures, with even professional investigators such as Ghost Adventures suffering from severe states of paranormal oppression and even possession. It goes as a warning warning for those who decide to take up the cause for themselves. Take heed and be aware of what you are getting into, even if you are a skeptic or non-believer. Respect the locations you are visiting. Some videos are so terrifying that you may catch yourself holding your breath. Bryce Newbold describes this Ohio hiking experience through the Shawnee State Forest as a very rough trip, and by the end of this video you'll know exactly why. It's a hot summer's day and he has many miles ahead. By 4 miles he is drenched and walks about half a mile to drink from the river. His next source of water won't be until nightfall, and by then he will have walked 12 miles. By the second day he is feeling unusually miserable and drained and decides to take a shorter route.
I am absolutely covered in either little tiny ticks or chiggers. They're probably chiggers. They are all over me right now. I tried washing them off, but I'm gonna have to go through and pick them off one by one, it looks like.
He's looking pretty pale by the end of the day, even though he's been getting plenty of sun. That's because poor Bryce has been getting his legs chewed off by tiny ticks that won't give up, and by the end of the day it's looking pretty bad.
And I have a million bites from those little chiggers last night. You can see they're still on there.
By the time he gets back home, his legs and feet are covered in marks. I'm not a doctor, but I definitely would be going to one soon if I were him. That looks really bad, and I think it's probably time for a test or two to make sure you didn't get anything from them. I really hope he's okay and that nothing like this ever happens to him again. It's midnight, everyone's asleep, except for this ghost, published by The Haunted One in August of 2020. This short clip shows a thirsty ghost having a nightcap. Watch closely as the bottle on the counter moves ever so slightly on its own. It slides from the middle of the island to the very edge. Is this ghost about to smash some glass, or is he just playing mind games? Either way, I definitely think this place is haunted. Mysterious, unexplained lights were recently sighted over Brazil, just north of Rio de Janeiro. The diagonal formation of strange lights stretches into the night sky and blinks in and out of sight. It's not a constellation because there are no stars in the sky, just these strange, unexplained lights that slowly move to the right and glow a fierce red when the camera zooms in. As the camera moves across the city to show there are no stars, they see more strange lights in the sky. These ones closer to Earth, a large column of lights at 56 seconds that should not be there at all. It looks like it could be a building, but according to them it's not. More lights seem to drop and lower to the ground, but it's too far away to tell. When he zooms out, he is surprised to find most of the skylights are already gone. This happened on June 24th of 2020, and if you're wondering why I was never reported on the news, maybe it's because we were never supposed to find out. A YouTuber named Solar and his friends are checking out an old abandoned hotel that's rumored to be the secret meeting place for an organized cult. The first thing they notice is how the hotel looks to still be in use, despite being abandoned for many years. The pentagram in the floor looks recent and could be used for who knows what. They decide to arm themselves and keep exploring. Eventually, they wind up on an overpass and can see their SUV, but something is out of place.
Honestly, like, we want to come back here. Oh, bro. What the? No way. Oh, bro. Yeah, let's go.
A wheeled cart comes rolling towards them, obviously pushed by someone nearby. The friends know that danger is near, so they race to their car and get out of there before the cult has a chance to take them away. A group of divers go exploring off Miller's Point in South Africa, a place where giant sea life can pose quite a problem, but it's not what they find that makes this diving video scary, so much as what it is they lose. At 4 minutes and 17 seconds, one of them starts to thrash around and has to be extracted by two friends. He has lost his sense of direction because everything is one color, no floor, no ceiling, and easy to lose track of unless you keep focus. Now up has become down, left has become right. He has no idea where he is and his mind is spinning, a condition known as vertigo. Once you are in this confused state, it's easy to keep swimming farther down because you think you are going to reach the surface at any moment. Eventually, the underwater pressure becomes too much to handle and you can guess the rest. When they bring him to the surface, you can see that it's a good thing they intervened in time. He later says he blacked out and doesn't remember any of the scary moments they've caught on camera. There was little chance of him reaching the surface on his own, and he pretty much owes them his life. So take this video as an example why you should never go diving alone unless you want to risk the same thing happening to you with no one to save your life. YouTuber named Isaiah Fleming makes a YouTube video of himself cleaning his dirty room as motivation to actually get the job done and over with. During the course of this cleaning, the television turns on by itself, which I guess could be explained by accidentally stepping on the remote or something, and the door opens by itself, which is caught on two different angles and much harder to explain. The room is looking much cleaner after 2 hours, and he takes a break to go do something else. This next part almost has to be edited because it's literally impossible. Okay, so the door opens at 11:41 at night, and this time without showing any breaks in the timestamp, a childhood stuffed bear disappears from view. Isaiah comes back to find the television changes to one of the cameras he has just set up in the other room. It looks like he is trying to use his remote control, but it's useless. Nothing is there then. With a flash of static, the bear is somehow sitting in the chair. He can't believe what he is witnessing at first, but as he looks to the floor, slowly realizing his house is haunted, he misses this eerie figure watching him through his own screen. Do you believe in poltergeists? What if you're confronted with video proof? YouTuber Ethan Thurrock posted poltergeist activity happening in his office across 3 videos. In the first video, the office door closes on its own. Some paper towel moves, along with a computer cable followed by a tape dispenser on the desk. Then the computer monitor starts to blink on and off. The timestamp reads 6/9/2015. In the second video in the same room, a toy car moves across the desk to the very edge. The timestamp reads 6/10/2015. It's hard to tell if the last video is in the same room, as it's from a different camera and perspective, but it's filming while someone is in the office. As she's working on her computer, her coffee mug suddenly moves abruptly, spilling some coffee on her desk right next to her electronics. She jumps up to move everything out of the way. If you weren't a believer before, you'd be hard to explain this series of events. Midlothian, Scotland is no stranger to witches. Salem was bizarre enough, but the Great Scottish Witch Hunt was on a whole other level. This drone video sure seems to suggest that witches continue to walk among us, or at least they walk in quiet fields within our vicinity. That's what this alleged witch was doing when captured on video by a drone. The woman dressed in a red skirt, black top, and with long, lanky, black, maybe gray hair, is first seen standing quite still in the field. The video then shows her turning around, swaying slightly, her face quite pale. She seems to be dancing or performing some ritual as she raises her hands in the air and then places a foot forward. Is this a real-life witch? If not, what in the world is she doing? At a once bustling market turned ghost town in China, this lone figure was captured on camera. Published by Paranormal Planet in February of 2020, the video shows a mysterious fog shadow moving into view. As Chinese lanterns hang all around, swaying with the wind, the figure moves across the walkway before it disappears from sight. The uploader writes, "This footage was spotted by the person responsible for monitoring the street cameras. Is this a ghost? Or has the Grim Reaper come for us all?" A YouTuber named Cup of Mocha is in the middle of making a video when she realizes she is no longer by herself at home.
What the This door is not supposed to be open.
The video goes from light and playful to an emergency situation after she sees the busted basement door. I personally would have called the police at this point, but Cup of Mocha decides to stay. Watch this part and tell me if you think she should have ran upstairs or kept recording.
I'm just gonna film this just in case like the police find it or something. But that's what the heck is going on?
She goes from room to room half expecting to get jumped by some crazed intruder at any moment. She eventually tiptoes into a large laundry room with many hiding spots. It looks all clear until this happens next.
There's literally no one here. Oh my!
According to Cup of Mocha, someone bumps her from behind and she drops her camera as they run away. I wasn't sure if this was real or not, but over 1 year later, she still appears to be having problems with this obsessed fan.
Oh my god, Monique, we need to go. Come here. What?
She sounds really scared here, but I would like to know if you think she is truly in danger or just making a fictional series. TikToker Queen Alex posted this haunting video to the site. The clip shows a phone strapped onto a stand, recording footage of a woman in the distance near a forest. You might have to watch this clip a few times to see it, but if you look at the tree to the right of her, you can see what appears to be a figure move from one side of the tree to the other. What is going on here? Is it a trick of visual trickery, or have we all fallen into some time warp loop? Whatever it is, it's seriously uncanny. I wouldn't go anywhere near that forest. A small crowd gathers to watch a commercial airliner take off, but what should be a fun little diversion turns into a scary moment, and it's all caught on camera. A person is getting in some exercise when they become engulfed in a sudden sandstorm created by high-powered turbine engines. He's directly in the jetliner's path, and there's nowhere for him to go but down a steep slope into the water, and you can see others are also stuck in its path. This is probably exactly why there aren't more beaches this close to an airport. I know this is kind of humorous, but it stops being funny if you get a piece of sand embedded in your eye, or worse, which thankfully did not happen here. A ghost hunting channel in India called Ye Kayatha knows of a haunted railway where plenty of lives have been lost and therefore plenty of paranormal evidence to be found. K2 meter in hand, they walk down the paranormal path and wait for a sign. Occasionally they feel watched and stop to scan the horizon, but nothing is there. Soon a general feeling of unease becomes so unbearable that they stop to put down the K2 meter. They know a life was lost here and a ghost is nearby. They can feel it, and then
एहसास करवाएं वैसे आपने करवा दिया है
भाई रीडिंग देखो कितनी तेज आई है
अच्छा हमें साइन मिल रहा है
The ghost hunters aren't surprised to see the K2 meter spike hard for the very first time all night. They stand around for a long time staring into the darkness and getting nothing on camera, but just when they're about to give up,
कबीर भाई सामने देखो
वहाँ पे
जसी भाई
they go a few steps forward but stop when they realize the ghost has disappeared, or at least that's what they claim. They should have kept running if they wanted to prove it really was a ghost, but they were so creeped out by that point that maybe they didn't want to. It's easy to say that this is fake because they don't go forward far enough, but you never know how you'd react until you're the one having a ghost sighting. This paranormal ghost sighting video could be real. Will Wild's Outdoor Adventure is a YouTube channel focusing on interesting hikes through nature trails. This time, Will Wilde is completely alone in the woods when he gets the feeling that he is being watched. His survival instincts tell him to pause and survey his surroundings, a decision that probably saves his life. Watch this part and tell me if you spotted anything before he zooms in, because I sure didn't.
There's a bear right there.
There's no doubt that he would have kept going straight into its clutches if he didn't think to zoom in first. It's standing dead center in the path and looking straight at him, so maybe if it was even waiting in ambush, he turns around instead, but that doesn't exactly mean he's safe yet. Bears are notoriously curious and will follow hikers for a long time, especially if they are protecting their territory. So now Will has to keep making noises to keep the bear at bay. He is absolutely terrified, but he has to sound as brave as he can as he backpedals down the narrow path while screaming, "Hey bear!" As you can see, there is tall vegetation on both sides, and he expects to be a goner at any moment from an unseen angle. Also, one false step could leave him with a twisted ankle, and a wild bear steadily approaching.
Bear spray out.
Hey bear! The trail even widens into a clearing, and he can see that he is not being followed. I think he took the best course of action considering the circumstances, but let me know what you're supposed to do in that situation, and if he made any mistakes. A family in the Bahamas recorded the horrors they endured. Posted to Twitter by Gilbert NMO Morris, he writes, "It has been 14 hours now with Dorian in Freeport, Bahamas, and this is the roof of a home there." Take notice of the wind and rush of the waves. This family was already on the top floor of the house. Can you imagine holding steadfast in the roof of your home moments away from being swallowed by the sea? The event is reportedly one of the worst on record to hit the islands. The Bahamas will take years to recover from this. Around 300 homes were completely destroyed. No doubt the home shown in this video was one of them. A YouTuber named R. Travis is exploring a haunted restaurant that used to serve Chinese food. The inside is extremely old, and the walls have rotted down to bare support beams. He feels watched and grows increasingly anxious, and begins to talk loud and fast to himself in an effort to keep calm. Sometime during his nervous ranting, he makes a comment out loud about a spirit he sees standing at the top of the stairs.
I don't give two flat. Oh, it's a set of stairs here. Let's roll. They might not be stable. I just seen a figure up there, but I'm not answering. I'm going chasing him.
Nothing really stands on camera. Could this purple triangular shape be whatever it was he was talking about? At first, he says he's going to leave it alone, but up the steps he finds nothing but an old musty attic with a worn out floor, but there's more than that up here.
I just seen another figure then. Three black spirits have seen them past me now.
Aside from this white light that passes by at 3 minutes and 10 seconds, I do see some shadow figures. And a final shadow figure with white eyes can be seen here at 3 minutes and 22 seconds. They're all about the same height, scattered around different parts of the room, and with all of them still watching, R. Travis abruptly ends the video. Urban explorer Steve Ronan is exploring a town by a lake that was opened in the 1950s and had a very dark history. They had an entire arena where dogs were forced to do horrible things and had multiple passings in the town under strange circumstances. It has since been abandoned and is now considered a ghost town with paranormal energy. Steve explores the area with some locals who show him around. While the entire exploration has some seriously creepy vibes, there's two parts in particular that are especially frightening. At 12 minutes and 20 seconds, Steve says he caught a demon on camera. Do you see it here?
Right here. There's
And again at 31 minutes and 20 seconds. Steve says more paranormal activity is caught on tape here.
See with this. What the even this mirror over here. You can see the reflection of the door and my flashlight, but you can't even see me.
Overall, I would stay far away from that ghost town. The abandoned boys are exploring a haunted forest where some scary things are said to lurk late at night. They reach a mysterious clearing, and while searching through the tall grass, they somehow miss a figure in blue robes standing right in front of the camera at 12 seconds. 14 seconds later, the same figure has somehow teleported and now stares them down. In this alleged witch sighting caught on camera in the woods, a woman is hunched over and appears to have her robes pulled over her head. She moves slowly, and assuming this is real and not one of their friends, no doubt has a curse or two waiting for them upon her touch. Her very image itself might be cursed and could explain why the video has lost most of its quality. Vadim Vadimich is a Russian YouTuber who often explores the radioactive remains of Chernobyl, an abandoned power plant that went into meltdown during the 1980s. On this journey, he and his friends find an abandoned daycare center that seems quite haunted. One of the first things they find are two dolls. One is headless and the other has poked-in eyes, shaded black all around, as if someone was pressing down aggressively hard as they scribbled. It's not a welcoming sign, but could just be the work of some edgy teens, or maybe even someone in their own group, so they press on. Across from the dolls is this picture of a Russian team all huddled around a strange object in the center. I don't know what this is in the middle, so someone help me out because it might be a clue. I assume this was a picture of the kids who used to come here before the meltdown. Who knows how many, if any, actually made it to adulthood due to the radioactive exposure. Immediately behind the photo is a creepy old picture of a Russian woman in full uniform crying. I don't understand the significance of this picture, but I feel like they are saying something important here, so translate this part from Russian to English if you can. After a while, it becomes apparent that they are all being watched. These white eyes first appear on the other side of a window at 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I thought it was just his light, until I realized the light is hitting his chest and shouldn't be visible behind him at all. And here at 3 minutes and 52 seconds, the eyes appear again in a doorway, much closer. It's just for a split second, but I mean, whose flashlight looks like that? Nobody's that I know. Those look like eyes for sure, glowing ones at that. They come across a portion of building they've explored before, but this time the door is partially opened, so they cautiously step inside. The first thing I noticed were these floating eyes at 7 minutes and 56 seconds. They look exactly the same size and shape as the ones before, but what they saw was the top of someone's head, someone incredibly tall and standing totally still. Standing motionless is a figure with a blacked out face and long white garbs. They run away and soon encounter it again. Its white clothes somewhat resemble the doll clothes we saw earlier. Could that have been a warning? When it gets close to them, it seems shorter than before, but impossibly broad-shouldered and powerful looking. I don't know why they let it get this close, but I guess they were frozen in place from fear and tired from running. I hope this was just a mannequin or something, but when it does this, I know it's far from a prop.
Да, Вадим, уйди назад.
The group retreats back inside, and now cornered eventually resorts to smashing through a window and takes a risk climbing through broken glass just to get away from whatever they just saw. So I think it's real. Luan Mendez is a paranormal investigator and urban explorer from Brazil who likes to go exploring haunted and abandoned places. Of his many scary videos, this ghost hunting video is by far the scariest. He is hunting for a ghost that often takes the form of a scary old woman. It isn't long before the alleged ghost sightings caught on camera. The ghost scares them in the window and then especially in the doorway. I would question if this ghost video is real or not, except for one weird thing here. They are shining a light directly at the woman, and yet nowhere does her mysterious figure cast a shadow. That's probably the scariest thing of all. It makes it seem like the video's paranormal to me. This person's nails are just long enough to produce one of the most stressful sounds ever recorded. If you somehow are able to keep from cringing from stress at what I'm about to show you, consider me impressed. Worst of all, judging by these claw marks seen at the very beginning of the video, I think they tend to enjoy making this noise all of the time. Next video comes from the Kaluzhsky airport in Russia. One of the planes loses all stability and wobbles unsteadily, trying its best to navigate a safe path through heavy air currents. The pilot continues to wrestle with the controls, which are becoming more unstable by the minute, and I think I see a small fire under the wheel. If he misses the runway here, there's no circling around for a second chance. The wings dip unevenly as the plane disappears behind the tree line. No one can see what is happening and they listen for the worst. A short while later, the plane miraculously emerges from behind the trees and touches down. The passengers get to live another day. Would you have the courage to enter a home in which a horrific event took place? That's how the police described this poor lady's passing. Published in January of 2022. The Ouija brothers head inside one of England's most haunted abandoned homes, in which a woman is said to have had her life taken using a device to speak with the spirit. The guys ask what her name is. Her answer gives me chills.
Could you tell us your name? Blood. Blood? Blood then. Bit of a funny name, isn't it? Remember that, like that lady? Yes, Blood.
Then, as a cameraman is backing out of a room, they capture a strange hissing noise.
I ain't going in there, man, because they'll make me ill for days.
Later, they're in another room when out the door, they see a light, it starts getting brighter, and then they hear something clatter.
Look, mate, can you see it getting brighter? It is. Oh. Hold on. Okay, mate, hold on.
Is this the ghost of the woman whose life was taken in this home? Or, as Sue suggests in the comments, did the events of this poor lady's life imprint on the house? Two men from northern Georgia are having some fun and celebrating in the forest. They begin to hear screeches coming from the wilderness surrounding them. At first, they are concerned, though they brush it off, but it soon becomes apparent that whatever is making these noises is coming closer and closer to them. Soon, a figure appears out of the darkness, who looks to be covered in red stains. They flee in the other direction, which was certainly the smart thing to do. While most think this is a humanoid creature of some kind, I think it might be a deranged person who is hiding out in the forest.
What the?
He probably thought these guys were too close to his hideout and gave them a big scare to make sure they never returned. What do you think of this theory? A 4-circuit CCTV system in Japan shows a woman waiting to get an elevator, but what we're looking at is the woman in the upper right monitor who is about to do the impossible. Did you see it? If not, I'll show you again. This does appear to be at least somewhat edited, especially when you pause halfway through and get that green screen look, but maybe it's just a glitch with the video file, and I need to accept the possibility that it could actually be real. We've seen plenty of poltergeists on top 15s, but this one is particularly aggressive. Posted to very spooky videos, a major malfunction writes, person captures saucer levitating as poltergeist takes over a room. The video begins in complete chaos as the light from an overhanging fan flashes on and off. While the fan is going, then on the wall, a picture in its frame starts to bang. A moment later, a cup levitates off the table, flings up into the air, and then falls to the floor. The man taking the video gets the heck out of there. That's right. Put as many miles as you can between you and that poltergeist. Seems like Mad Max. A YouTuber named Kyle Harrison is playing with his toddler in the living room when suddenly a toy starts to make strange sounds, almost as if it's saying something backwards.
I'm gonna have nightmares from this.
Well, some people can hear backwards chanting. Others hear a different message. When you play this video at half speed, you can almost hear a voice say something like, "It's near," or "It's here." Let me know if you heard what I am talking about, or if you think that this is an ordinary coincidence. Also, I have to add that one person in the comments section says that they own this toy and they have never heard it do this, even when the batteries run low. Maybe somebody else can identify this toy and back up this claim. A YouTuber named All-in-One Gaming is watching television when a flash of light catches his eye. He looks out his window only to see a shady person trying to gain entry to a nearby shed. All-in-One Gaming is stunned by the situation for a full minute before he remembers that he has motion sensor lights. He quickly activates them and sends the intruder running.
I turned on the light. Holy shit.
It is not clear if this person is simply looking to take property or if they are one of his thousands of fans who somehow got his home address. If this was a stalker, then who knows what they would have done if they had gotten to him. This scary video clip captured not just one misty spirit miraculously floating atop the water, but a second emerging from below. Posted to TikTok by Horror Talk, the apparition gracefully glides on the water's surface, only for his brother's head to appear, materializing from the same point in the water. It grows upwards, but we're left to wonder where the pair of spirits wandered off to, and from where they came. Some in the comments think this is a weather balloon, others say it's La Llorona, the weeping woman who roams the waterfront. What do you think it could be? These Snapchat videos were taken days after YouTuber Miss Brown 070809 and her co-worker decide to summon a spirit at her job for fun. She has felt constantly watched ever since. Maybe it's just a glitch, but the timing and movement of these Snapchat videos is a little too coincidental at times. It really does seem as if a spirit is responding to her without delay, like here for example.
Friend, where are you? I want to see you, please.
Look at how the ghost actually appears at eye level and follows the movement of a colleague.
It's here, dancing with them.
And when she pluralizes the word friend, more of them seem to come out of nowhere.
Friends, I need to say goodbye. Oh my god, you brought so many friends here, what the
I find it odd that multiple faces appear after she says friends. I'm not saying that these absolutely have to be spirits, but the timing is undeniably strange at the very least. Jeff Kessler is camping in the middle of nowhere, all by himself when a low rumbling noise jolts him awake. It's coming from just outside his tent. He bravely investigates the perimeter of his campsite, armed with only a flashlight. After some searching, he finally comes across the creature that woke him up a few minutes earlier. It appears to be an oddly shaped humanoid creature with broad hips and shoulders, but skinny limbs and a narrow head. Jeff only briefly catches it on camera before turning to run. Apparently, park rangers found his camera under this heavy and mysterious structure of bundled trees, but no signs of Jeff himself. I could find no news articles to verify this story as real, so it could just be an art project. Then again, or maybe it was even a cover-up. Let me know what you think. Catholics honor the departed on November 2nd with All Souls Day, praying for the souls of their departed family and friends, often with visits to the graveyard. But what happens when the soul hasn't crossed over? Published by Own Vlogs, these paranormal investigators visited a haunted graveyard in order to answer that question. As the crew wanders around the cemetery's open graves, they suddenly see this vague pale figure in the distance. After glancing over several times at the figure, the men get too scared by its stillness and start running off.
कुछ चीज है तो वो हावी होने की कोशिश कर रही है और ये क्या
खड़े हो जाओ निकलो यहाँ से स्पीड से थोड़ा सा
ये क्या है
Gathering some courage, they turn and look back. The figure is still there. They run off again and straight out of the cemetery. Was this a soul that hadn't yet crossed over? Or just a graveyard statue? In any event, this is one scary video that went horribly wrong.
रास्ते में खड़ी है जो भी है रास्ते में है अरे भाई इधर से निकल भाई
Is there someone hiding out of sight in this wreckage? Published by PH Red Fox, Yoon Sai-won is exploring an abandoned house in Korea when he hears this sound.
안녕하세요.
Is it an animal? A dog? He breaks out his EMF meter, which starts going haywire. He says it's not useful here because they're at the location's deepest point.
이제는 무의미. 여기 가장 깊숙한 데 와버려가지고.
Using facial recognition software, a scary face is recognized where there seems to be no one. It's recognized again, closer to him this time. Later, while using a spirit box, Sai-won gets the fright of his life. A bang is heard coming from someone unseen. A short while later, he is visited again by the spirit. But he sees nothing, and no one amongst the mess. Is Sai-won being stalked? And if so, by what? These situations usually end badly. This one, although extremely frightening, ended as well as it could have. It was February 8th, 1977. Tony Kiritsis, a 44-year-old man from Indianapolis, was set to meet about his mortgage with Richard O. Hall, a mortgage broker. Kiritsis wasn't making his payment, and a request for an extension was denied. Kiritsis was afraid that Hall would sell his property for the equity. After they'd gone in for the meeting as normal, Kiritsis led Hall out of his office with a barrel held to the base of Hall's neck. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment plan in action. Kiritsis had thought this through. The barrel was wired to Hall's neck, while the trigger was wired to a ring he wore on his index finger. This meant that Hall would perish if he tried to run away, and he would perish as well if someone tried to retrieve the gun from Kiritsis. Before leaving the office, Kiritsis also phoned the cops to tell them that if they attempted to intervene, Hall's life would end. He then led Hall through the streets of Indianapolis to Kiritsis' apartment, where he held Hall captive for 3 days. Kiritsis' demands that his debt be eliminated, that he wouldn't be prosecuted for his actions, and that the mortgage company admit fault. This is the scary part that was caught on camera. Kiritsis alerted the news media that Richard Hall would be reading a statement that he, Kiritsis, had written. Hall could barely speak due to the strain from the wire against his neck, so Kiritsis ended up reading the piece himself live on air. His delivery lasted for 23 minutes. When Kiritsis got what he wanted, Hall was released unharmed. Police, of course, prosecuted Kiritsis despite promising otherwise, and he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He was thrown in a mental institution for 11 years. Later, he apologized for what he had done and said that he never wanted to hurt anyone. Thankfully, he didn't. This video is believed to have happened sometime in 2001. A person is walking around what looks like to be an old basement when they think they notice something on the floor.
What the hell's that? Where? That on the floor. Where? Right there.
The footage is too grainy to see, but I think he may have been looking at a shoe, or even the top of someone's head coming out from just behind the door. Suddenly, he looks up and sees some sort of white apparition glaring back at him with lifeless glowing eyes. I guess that it could just be someone who is dressed up, but there's something about his reaction that seems genuine. The Franklin County Old Jail, which was established in 1818, is widely known for being extremely haunted, and usually, it seems that whoever dares to enter finds themselves getting more than they bargained for. A YouTube channel named Paranormal Purgatory decided to venture down into the jail themselves to have a look around the place. The jail is eerily decrepit and worn down, something you'd expect from a 200-year-old building, but just because it's worn down doesn't mean that the place remains uninhabited.
Look at that. That's gonna be.
Did you see the old rocking horse in there?
No, what I see.
Go in there.
No, what I see.
Go in there.
No, what I see.
Go in there. Did you hear that?
I heard that too.
There was a whistle.
So next to the bed here, I do kind of see what they're talking about here. If you just focus on the bed, there appears to be just kind of this shadow, and then it almost seems to take off to the right here.
Old rocking horse in there?
No, what I see.
Go in there.
No, what I see.
Go in there.
No, what I see.
Go in there. Did you hear that?
Oh, right there. Okay, I now see exactly what they're talking about. So there's going to be a flash of light. So it looks like it's like a head and kind of a torso, and there's that flash of light, and then it looks like it just sort of pops right up. It happens so quickly. I should play this in slow motion. Right here, don't you see that? And then it just pops right up just in the split second that it's shown in the light. Even though the crew behind the channel had only just started to look around the jail, little did they know that they didn't need to look any further for signs of paranormal life, as you can make out what appears to be some sort of shadow figure right next to the bed, which vanishes just as quick as it appears. During the rest of the video, the crew explores the remaining areas of the jail, but are ultimately unable to find any other signs of paranormal activity. Even still though, seeing this shadow figure in person during an investigation would be enough to terrify anybody. TikToker Kitty K38, also known as Paranormal Nightmares on YouTube, continues to capture paranormal encounters in her home. This appears to be home surveillance footage in their living room. In the left corner, there is a chair with two supposedly haunted dolls on it. Watch what happens when Jamie enters the room. Upon noticing the chair tilting backwards, Jamie grabs a piece of wood and waves it behind the chair to check for any strings. He cannot find any though. The chair finally returns back down and Jamie quickly exits the room. All this recorded evidence really aids to the legitimacy of this haunted house. What would you do if you lived in a house like this? I'd be sleeping with the lights on. A while back, I analyzed a viral video of an unknown creature caught on camera in China. People were saying it was a sickly bear, but villagers insisted it was a mythological spirit known as a water ghost. That one was in captivity, but since then another one's been found running loose in the wild, this time in Malaysia. The way it crawls is not like a bear, but maybe it is sick with mange like they say. Of particular interest is where the supposed bear chooses to go. Remember, villagers in China say this is a water ghost, and then it slips into the water. Don't get me wrong, I definitely think this is just a bear with mange trying to swim away from the camera, but I'm no expert and the villagers are the ones who live there and saw it with their own eyes. The point is no one knows for certain, so I'm not going to act like I do. What do you think this is? This Saudi Arabian YouTuber decided to do some urban exploring in 2018. The property looks long abandoned, and they are forced to explore only by flashlight. Despite the creepy feel of the place from the very start, the men brave it out and continue exploring. It starts to appear as though the men are being watched, and on multiple occasions they check their surroundings to make sure they are all alone. It turns out their instincts are correct, as they capture what they claim is a witch. It definitely appears to be someone dressed in all black robes, with their face fully covered. I believe someone might have actually been living on the property, and they wanted to scare them away. Or do you think the YouTuber was correct, and this was an actual witch? With 2 Barbie dolls in her hands, this little girl is as happy as can be. Her family is recording what should be a loving memory for them to watch over and over again with glee. Instead, if any of them ever watch this video again, it will be in sheer horror. The girl is in the middle of an improvised skit when her father calls something out to her. I think he is telling her to come eat dinner or something like that. Based on what happens next, it looks like the girl wasn't the only one who was listening. As soon as the girl says something to the effect of "not right now," the Barbie snaps her head back and gives her a glare. Maybe the doll doesn't appreciate the disrespect towards her father, or maybe it's done being played with for right now. Either way, the girl throws both dolls into the air and runs away. Of course, this could be a fake video, but I'm not sure how you would make the doll's head turn like that. For one thing, the girl's hand isn't anywhere near the doll's head, and for another, you can see by looking at the doll's hair that no string has been tied around its head. Most people in the comments of this video think that it's real. A YouTuber named Sonia Said is making a vlog about life in general when she decides to take a rest in the park on a nice Sunday. Big mistake.
I have some guy staring at me in front of me. He's been like holding the tree.
Notice how he lines himself perfectly out of her sight. He could come from behind and she wouldn't be able to see it coming.
What am I doing? You guys are about to see him right now. And I am gonna leave. What a weirdo. There he is. So weird. People are so creepy.
He is definitely facing her way when she decides that she's had enough.
And now we get up and go.
He's still facing her direction long after she goes, arms innocently behind his back like nothing's wrong.
So creepy. People are so creepy.
Now, if this stranger's behavior doesn't make you say bruh, I don't know what will. Saulo Brenner claims to have caught a ghost on camera at an abandoned cemetery somewhere in Brazil. Across the street is a shadow figure caught moving on tape. It looks pretty decent until you zoom in and see the ghost sighting is most likely a blur effect or a camera glitch. The date and time look messed up too, further evidence that this CCTV video has been edited and not paranormal. A man is happily gaming at a busy internet cafe when this scary moment happens. He is able to partially sit up again with some assistance, but something in his mind has apparently snapped. I guess this could either be exhaustion, or maybe even reacting to seeing too many flashing colors at once. I just thought it was scary because it happens out of nowhere. What lurks in your alley in the middle of the night? This video may surprise you. Published to YouTube by Tasklock in March of 2021, the security footage was recorded on the 30th of December 2020 at around 4 in the morning. An empty road with a few motorcycles and bicycles parked along each side, still in the darkness, at least for the moment. Suddenly, someone invisible decides to take this bike out for a spin. The motorcycle abruptly pulls out into the road, turning in place. At one point, it slows in its turning, then jerks forward and continues in its path before falling over on the side in the middle of the road. Could this just be something mechanical malfunctioning in the bike? Or did a ghost realize he didn't have enough momentum mid-launch? A YouTuber named All-in-One Gaming is watching television when a flash of light catches his eye. He looks out his window only to see a shady person trying to gain entry to a nearby shed. All-in-One Gaming is stunned by this situation for a full minute before he remembers that he has motion sensor lights. He quickly activates them and sends the intruder running.
I turned on the light. Holy shit.
It is not clear if this person is simply looking to take property, or if they are one of his thousands of fans who somehow got his home address. If this was a stalker, then who knows what they would have done if they had gotten to him. An abandoned home with a tragic past turned into ritual grounds for secret groups? Sounds like a recipe for disaster. Published to YouTube by Steve Ronan in September of 2020. This paranormal investigation looks inside the devil's home, as it's so called. According to Ronan, this millionaire's mansion was built in the 90s, but the family who was to live here passed away before it was finished. First off, although it's an abandoned mansion, the power is still on. While wandering the house, they hear disembodied voices, but it's this pentagram in one of the rooms that gives them pause.
Is that a REM pod?
They place an REM pod in the middle and it goes wild. Is something nefarious at home here? It certainly seems so. No one's getting any sleep in this room tonight. Published by Amma Media Channel in April of 2022. A woman is trying to catch some Z's in bed when a poltergeist takes over the room. First, it causes this baby swing to jerk around erratically, which wakes the woman up. She gets up and holds it still, which it is for a moment, but then it starts to swing like crazy again. The woman seems to think it's the wind. She checks the window. When the chair is still again, something flies from off the top of the wardrobe. A moment later, the closet door creaks open and then swings open further. The baby swing starts moving briefly. A moment later, something creepy appears in the mirror of the wardrobe door. What is it? But I'd guess that it's what's causing all the chaos. It's 3 a.m. when this home security camera catches something weird on video. At 5 seconds, you can see strands of a spider web, but that's not what I'm talking about. 6 seconds later, a bug breaks free of the web. It looks normal in flight, and only when it lands on the doorbell camera does it look kind of humanoid, like it might not be a bug after all. Tell me if you can see a vaguely human outline here at 13 seconds, or if you think this 3 a.m. sighting is nothing more than an overactive imagination. Just by looking at the exterior of this house, you can tell it's clearly haunted. Published by Han Kardesler. These 3 paranormal investigators are doing a ritual just to make sure. Circling a small table with candles lit on top, the men are seen grasping the table and chanting a ritual, while noises are heard around them. Then outside they see this. A pale face in the window moves away. Back inside, the men are chanting around the table again when a wheeled chair rolls into view. One of the men seems to be shocked by something unexplained and without a word walks away. The others follow him, uncertain of where he went. They find him outside, standing at a distance in the darkness. He is suddenly snatched by someone and pulled from view. They find him in a strange stick hut and appear to talk him into normalcy. But what of the snatcher? Was this the work of the mad face in the window? I think so. A YouTuber named Faster Than Pasta is experimenting with a homemade Ouija board and manages to contact a 44-year-old spirit named Simon. Simon doesn't appear to be very happy about being summoned and interrogated by some kids, so he spells out his displeasure.
Do you want to be friends? We're so sorry.
Less than 10 minutes later, Faster Than Pasta begins to look different and feel strange. She looks at her hands as though they are foreign objects, and then her head goes down. Her knees give out and she falls to the ground, woozy. When she recovers, she looks over at her friend Jimmy, only to discover that now he is the one acting strange. It seems as if Simon the spirit is switching between both of them at will.
Jimmy, what are you doing? What happened?
Eventually, Jimmy too passes out with absolutely no recollection of what happened upon waking. Tell me if you think they are really getting possessed or just acting. Parts of this video look pretty convincing, but I can't say for sure. Something unsettling is going on in this haunted house. Published by Mr. Horror in February of 2022, the scary video begins with this mysterious clacking noise. The room is empty and the floor looks like it's covered in dirt or sawdust, or as some in the comments suggest, flour. The clacking continues, followed by a large banging sound. Then footsteps appear as something invisible walks across the floor. Many in the comments note how big the prints are. Others are just glad there isn't a jump scare. To what or who do you think these prints belong? For now, I think it'll remain a mystery. A YouTuber named Shadow the Wolf is with his friend when they see a complete stranger walking up to them without saying a word.
Oh my god. He's coming closer. Oh my god, shut the window.
They quickly run upstairs and lock the door as the silent figure moves closer. I have little doubt that this video is real, because they are just some kids and this is clearly a full-grown man. They realize he is trying to get in through the garage and quickly lock the basement door. I'm not sure if this is some random person or a fan, but with over 19,000 subscribers, I think it's possible that this could have been one of them. A postal worker is moving some mail around an office building and summons an elevator. There's an overhead light in the third camera that flickers from the very beginning of the video onwards, which may or may not be an indication of something paranormal. Notice how this electrical disturbance briefly spreads to the elevator as soon as the doors open. So far, this could just be a technical malfunction, but that doesn't explain what happens next. Watch as the papers start fluttering on their own despair there, being no possible draft inside of the cramped space. I can't help but notice how the papers stop fluttering every time he looks over, only to resume again when he stops paying attention. It definitely looks paranormal to me. Again, the lights flicker on and off as soon as the doors open, almost as if a paranormal entity is getting on and off the elevator with him. He notices that the lights are flashing an awful lot down here, but he chooses to ignore it and keeps moving. A short while later, this phantom businessman partially emerges from a realm beyond our own. I have trouble believing this part is not computer-generated effects, but that doesn't necessarily mean the whole video is fake. Maybe everything up to this part was real, and someone added in this final scare at the end. Or worse still, maybe I'm wrong and this ghost really was behind him. This footage, published by Paranormal World in August of 2019, shows a scenic mountain and forest opposite an overpass. After completing a full 360 to take it all in, the camera falls to the cars whizzing past below before returning to the mountain. This time, the mountain isn't the only thing carving out the sky. A Godzilla-like creature peeks out from behind the mountain. At first, one might mistake it for the mountain itself, but it slowly begins to move, voiding that theory. While many in the comments say this is a good edit, some are more concerned by the man's reaction. YouTuber Dap writes, "If there is a Godzilla, you are running, not chewing gum." That's probably true, although other people note that the creature is friendly, so perhaps the cameraman had no need to fear him. Still, seeing a creature the size of a mountain would probably get your heart pumping. Friendly or not. Is this a witch mimicking a baby's cry? Shared by Instagram accounts Paranoid Normal and Unanswered Universe. Listen closely.
Ahí hay una cosa, miren allá. Venga, venga. No, Diosito Padre Celestial, ¿lo que es eso? No, esperen, esperen hasta allá.
¿Qué pasó?
Ey, no. Vamos a alumbrar qué es, no, Juan.
You can hear a baby wailing, and it seems to be coming from this nearby bush. The bush shakes as the group watches tentatively, and then this happens. What is that thing? It doesn't look like any animal I've ever seen. As the group flees the scene, you can hear another bush shaking, and you can hear the baby's wail again. Is this a witch or a shapeshifter, luring them in to take their souls? I do think it's some paranormal creature, mimicking a baby's cries, but for what purpose? I'm not so sure. Often captures the unexplainable. Posted to YouTube by UFO Mania in May of 2018, and originally from FUMON, a Ring security camera caught a strange flying entity on camera. The unknown entity shoots onto the screen, sparking in the air before settling in a glowing fuzz at the bottom of the frame. It hovers there, floating, before jolting upwards and out of sight. YouTuber Trish Robinson writes, "One world has many creations in it. We simply don't understand them. Most will never be known by the masses. Is this just one of those many creations we don't understand?" Nevertheless, this footage raises multiple questions I wish we had additional evidence to answer. Thank you so much for getting me to 50,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 60,000 subscribers next. Thank you.